I'm going to do this final recap of the June mayoral forum that I went to tonight at the Rawlings Library. There's 10, 11 candidates, about 50 people were there. 10, 11 candidates of the 20, 21 or so that is running so far. They still have until August to declare and then get their signatures in. A lot of these, might not get their signatures in, and we could also see other people jump in. Mark Aliff was having a bunch of homeless I care about the homeless issue meetings, so that seems to signal that perhaps, and then people are saying, oh, this race needs a conservative Republican. Most of these Democrats are conservative Republicans, so we really need a true blue progressive. It's still, we still need that, but there's a lot of good people. That's a lot of good people with a lot of good ideas. So without further ado, so this is for Pueblo City. It's the first mayor for a long ass time for the last 70 years. So Pueblo City, they're the fifth most crimes in the nation, so the fifth worst city in the nation. You had 15 teenagers who killed themselves. They offed themselves, and 30-something adults had killed themselves in 2017. And then this is, marijuana is legal here, and it was doubled down in Pueblo, and there's several stores you can get an $87 ounce at 719. $87 for an ounce. So that's 719. That's incredible. So where there's abundance of marijuana, why are there so many depressed kids and depressed adults? There's 1 out of 4 of the kids here are poor. 1 out of 5 of the people are poor. The instant runoff voting elections were rejected for the 2-round voting. And last but not least, they have been rejecting homeless shelters all over the place. We don't even have a homeless shelter. Not one city-built homeless shelter, which is embarrassing. That's an absolute, these divided snakes of embarrassment. It is a national issue, but a lot of times, we got to take care of our own at the very least, and there are homeless kids in Pueblo, 900 of them, 100 away from 1,000. So, yeah. So, we're talking about Pueblo City. This is right after Nick Gradisar's The Kingfish. So, just talk about a few of his ideas real quick. He created the mayor's office, so he's the architect. He wants to have an ombudsman, so that way people can go through the regulations of the city. He's correct on municipal electricity. So he's also right on the war on poverty, the rhetoric, not the solutions. His policies, laissez-faire solutions won't work. He created the bullshit, the barely progressive 2-round election system too, so he should be given credit for both of those things, creating the mayor's office, creating the 2-round election system. He is a prominent member of the Democratic Party. He's one of the chairperson of the Chamber of Commerce Citizen 22 Action Committee. And so the mayor's office, this was him as a citizen. He actually broke city council, and they did it, and then 2 of them jumped on board saying they're going to become mayor. So I bet they're like, okay, we'll let you have your way, Nick Gradisar, but we're going to run against you. And so now we got this, sort of family infighting. Poverty, healthcare, and energy were Pueblo's top 3 issues for Nick Gradisar. So municipal electric, we will save money with that. I'd be for municipal Wi-Fi, municipal oil, municipal steel, municipal trash, recycling solar power, waste to electricity. We got 23 departments. Originally, we only had 10 departments, I think. Now we have 23. So it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I want to talk about the 2 progressive issues. I think the 3 main progressives that I see are Janet Wilson, Jackie Massey, and Tony Pemberton. So we'll talk about Janet Wilson. I already talked about Jackie Massey and Gradisar and Flores in another video. So Janet Wilson is from Canada. She was naturalized here in 2007. She's been here longer than most of the superintendents, most of the city managers. This city manager, has been here for 5 years, so she's been here longer than this city. She's been seen a lot of shit in Pueblo. She's seen a lot of change. Constance Jones, she's been here longer than Constance Jones. She's lived here longer than Joyce Bales. and whoever the city managers are. Back in the 90s, there was one here for 2 years, and then he was gone. He actually got paid out. He had a 3-year contract, and they paid him $100,000 for him to get the fuck out of Dodge. So she's been in Pueblo longer than most of your city managers and your superintendents of D60 schools. So Janet Wilson is got Pueblo House. She's really awesome person. So she's an activist, but it's kind of hard to pin her down. Liberal conservative. I think she runs to the right of me, but I'm pretty progressive. So I hope she don't always do that. I wish that some of these candidates just embraced being a progressive, since the majority of the American people believe in progressive issues. And so Janet Wilson, she was opposed to the mayor. That makes me trust her. 18% of the people wanted it. She had a vision. She can pick up things real easy. She's a financial planner, so she does offer a vision. She's from Canada, so the Canadian Godmother, that was me, so she quoted me. Banks have been fucking up our nation, which was Occupy. So she's been with Occupy. She's questioning the banks. She questioned the cops. She had said that there's a problem with the cops, which I don't know if she understands that she's not allowed to criticize them for any reason, right? The thin blue line. But she's not criticizing them for police brutality. She's criticizing the training program. So they're saying that they waste a lot of money hiring new police officers and then training them. And then once they get trained, they go to some other police department. They don't actually serve here. So we waste all that money in the training dollars. And so she was saying, why not give them these shitty houses, have these blighted houses, and try to help build it up for them, but get the trained police officers, the ones who are already trained, and then give them one of these houses as an incentive to come on down here. So that's a criticism of the police. I don't know if that's the solution to it. Maybe it'll work, maybe not. I don't know. Her being from Canada, I think just she's from a place where everybody gives a shit about each other's health care. So that's, I think, a different kind of culture. She's also got financial background. She's done money this and money that. So she is the Canadian Godmother of Pueblo City, and I hope Pueblo City recognizes she was big. The thing was the Cinco de Mayo. So she got the Cinco de Mayo parade going, and then the police shut it down. So that's who Janet Wilson is. She wanted to have a Cinco de Mayo festival, but Louis Velez shut it down, and there was a big free speech thing, and eventually I think she won the court case and all this other shit. But God, to make somebody go through so much bullshit just because they want to have, a parade marching down the street one day. So she has vision. She's got a money breaker, so she's got a serious. She's older, so I feel like I do look up to her like as an elder. So as a godmother, Canadian, I think that, that's nothing wrong with that. She's naturalized, so she's a Canadian American. She's been here longer than Joyce Bales and Constance Jones. She's talking about, here's the problem, here's the solution. She's a no-nonsense lady. She rolls up her sleeves, gets to work. She's got 4 non-profit Pueblo house buildings for kids, and she wants to engage the youth. There's lots of volunteers. She's responsible fiscally. So, again, for my one vote is between Jackie Massey and Janet Wilson. I do like Tony Pemberton. I didn't like how he actually did not identify with, my problems, right? It seems like people have a problem with empathy. Now, I'd be happy with Janet Wilson or Jackie Massey. That would be awesome if they were the two that we're left with. But I believe that, let's see, he's got to show me more compassion Tony does than what he did before. Like, personally, I guess, I don't know, that's only 1 point in my scale. So if his policy and implementation, if he could do it, then Tony Pemberton, I think, is definitely a contender. But he can't inspire the city, and then when they get up and move and they act, he can't pretend like he had nothing to do with that. So all of these candidates, that's what their power is. You get to add to the narrative of the city. So there is power in adding to the narrative of the city. Who is, what is the soul of Pueblo City? What does it mean to be a Puebloan person, citizen, resident? So the big shocker was that you had Dennis Flores. Dennis Flores actually was in favor of recycling. So hold the phone, hold the horses, and hold the phone. There, Dennis Flores is in favor of recycling. So hold both the phone and the horses on that one. Reduce, reuse, recycle, recover. Grand Junction has been turning trash into electricity for quite some time. So that's unfortunate that's... Janet Wilson was talking about recycling trash and waste to electricity. It seems like everybody's on board with waste to electricity. That's exciting. And it should, I guess Gratisar. We need to ask Gratisar if he would be in favor of doing it, but turning garbage into electricity. Back to the Future, they took the garbage and put it into the car. She said it was world changing. So instead of charging people for their garbage, we pay them for their garbage. So she is absolutely flabbergasted at how Pedco wants to get a bunch of minimum wage jobs in here. She hates how they get all these outside corporations and they don't create any jobs. She would rather see them invest in Pueblo entrepreneurs. So she talked about some money, $50,000. If we actually invested the $8 million in the people here, it would create 160 jobs. So imagine what business you could start with $50,000. So we're putting all this taxpayer money in Pedco, and then they're going to try to create incentives for these big corporations to come here. They're whining and dining them and living high on the hog. Meanwhile, right, the day-to-day schlubbing goes on. So she's been a virulent critic of Pedco. She wants electricity waste to electricity programs. She says we got a cop problem, so she's not afraid to criticize the police. Not really on their brutality or their murder rate, but how they pay for new recruits and their training. So the Janet Wilson, she agrees that dropouts affect the crime rate. So I felt like it was a leading question. So is it correlation or causation? There are people, if people drop out, then the people have to do something. And so they're assuming that if kids have nothing to do, then they're just going to commit crime. That's possible. That could be all that they do. They have nothing to do, so let's just go around committing crime. Or they could go for bike rides, or they could play games in the neighborhood, and they can, be kids. So it's possible for both, for both of those things to apply. She talked about how the empty schools need to be rec centers. She talked about how we got 27 new cops. And so there's a problem with cops here. We're wasting money with how we train them. I know it's repeating some of this stuff. But the empty schools, to turn them into rec centers, that's a beautiful idea. I think they should be turned into tool sheds and tool sort of shops for anybody to come in and do whatever they want. Under supervision, so fully trained, so they hit the streets running. Community police stations are closed right now, so the drug addict stays by the community police stations, so that's embarrassing. Volunteers help to clean up streets. So she's getting a lot of people going. She's doing things. She says something about Arizona. Janet is friends with Carl Hanlon, but being on the radio, she interviews a lot of people. Carl Hanlon, he's not a progressive. He's nice enough. His breath stinks. Janet Wilson mentioned the skate park, pretty skate park, but no cameras nor lights. So we got a skate park, but now it's just for the druggies because there's no cameras or lights, and so it's just being overtaken. Something about bull riding. It was supposed to be the big thing 10 years ago, but now the baseball stadium, the $25 million for a baseball stadium, she says we need to vote on it. And I think we should vote on a lot of stuff. The instant runoff voting, the baseball stadiums, she says we've lost our way. She asked if we paid off the Justice Building, and then some people said, no, we have not. So we haven't even paid off the Justice Building, but we're going to get a brand new baseball stadium in here. Meanwhile, right, homeless, no shelters, no. Like, what are we doing? So she's right. We have lost our way, and that's Janet Wilson. So real fast, what about Nick Ayers? He's the boy from Pueblo. Garrison Ortiz got elected, so he has a possibility. When they asked him about a diverse cabinet, he says that he didn't really care about diversity. He just wanted to hire people based upon merit and their experience and their ability to do the job. So he wasn't concerned with diversity at all. And then on the opposite token, Tom Kroschel acted like he loved diversity. He turned into a big old hippie when he was talking about diversity. He loved diversity so much. So economic shocks, he wants to protect it from economic shocks like big corporations leaving. He's a Pueblo native. He acts like that's his biggest qualification, that reeks of entitlement. Well, I'm born here because he is the boy from Pueblo. He's got an interesting perspective. He's intelligent. I find him mostly right-wing conservative. And all my criticisms, I guess, could easily just be put right back on me. But it doesn't seem like he has much support. He doesn't seem like he's developed and articulated his ideas. I think I've articulated my ideas better and developed my ideas. It's a good start. I could see him doing, a lot of different jobs. He could be a great surveyor. He could have been, a great city councilman. Could have been a great, a lot of, other things. Not for mayor. The first mayor ever. Just in terms of height, it makes me think it could be Dennis and Nick. Which, oh God, I'll be so sad if it's that. Those are the two. Something about the leader. They don't have to be the all-star quarterback. They could be. But the leader of the city just needs to have the right policies and get the people of Pueblo City working in the same direction with that vision. The promised land, my technology, marijuana, solar panel vision is my vision, but, whoever gets in there, you don't have to be a rock star, you don't have to be a quarterback, you just have to have the right mentality, and you got to know how to sign your name. You're the executive, so you just need to, and then budget, so you just need to know how to pass laws, give public statements. So you really don't need much specifically constitutionally to do the job. But they will be the personification of the entire city. So they need to have appetites for 107,000 crazy ass months. Nick Ayers says that he does want to see the homeless population prospering as much as possible. He says there's programs, 6 months out of rent, rent-free, tiny home, large shipping container home company in Denver does it. After 6 months, they subsidize it for about a year. And then afterwards, you're supposed to pay your own rent. So it kind of helps people get up and out. Nick Ayers, so he did not seem like he had much of a vision or commitment to the homeless, but he did mention the Denver plan. So this is the Denver plan. If you help with cleaning up parks, help with street crews, the city pays you for your work. He laughs to himself. Then talked about creating the program. So there's sort of two things there. Denver plan, make the homeless our slaves and make them do. But I think we should have public works project, but we shouldn't just be putting people to work just to be putting them to work. Just give them the money if they're hungry, right? Here's money to get a house, a tiny house. And then the program, the 6 months, I like that. So I guess I'll put them all together. The Denver plan, Nick Ayers' Denver plan. That is politically relevant. He also points out how Interstate 25, how there's an airport, strong economic foundation for Pueblo. He basically talks about how there's 2 great colleges, higher education institutions, the weather is great. So he's kind of pointing out that they have potential, right? Pueblo's got an airport and an interstate and good weather and a college. So, yeah. A major shock he's concerned about is St. Mary Corwin. And I'm going to come back talk about Tony Pemberton. So.